So it's been about a month and a half since you guys went live with the EHR and began to rely on the EHR to store everything that was coming out of the exam rooms. The first question is, how accurate do you think your expectations and predictions were after having gone through the process?
I think we were fairly accurate. We expected it not to go smoothly. It didn't. There were things unexpected, like we lost contact with the servers once, fairly soon on. Haven't done that since then, but that was an issue we didn't expect. The actual uploading of our current patient paper records is considerably more time-consuming than we had expected, and that was just, I think, our not having any experience with doing it, had no idea, how it was going to go, and we were very optimistic.
And just to be clear, that uploading process, that is the process of taking 10,000 active patients and getting their most recent sick visit and well visit and things like that entered into the EHR. Because right now, the information for that 10,000 patients, that is on paper.
That's correct.
Right.
We are trying our best to get those three items, the most recent sick visit, the most recent well visit, and the immunization records, into the computer where the doctor can see them before they see them the first time on the computer. That is just a minimal part of what has to be uploaded, because in pediatrics we are responsible for keeping records long past the age of majority. So our records, we have to keep everything for many years. So we have to upload every page of everything that's in our record, which is very time consuming, much more so than for some reason we had anticipated.
But even if you weren't in pediatrics, if you were seeing just Medicare patients, for example, older patients, you'd still want their most recent visit and maybe medication lists and problem lists in the EHR.
With an older patient, it is somewhat different, because we're only responsible for keeping records for 6 years past the date last seen. So you could theoretically only choose to keep the last couple years worth of records. In our case, since we are supposed to keep everything until the age of majority or beyond that, we have to keep every record from birth on.
Okay. Second question, what lessons do you feel were some of the biggest ones you learned after having gone through it? Right.
Training's important. Setting up how you're going to be trained and getting that worked out in advance, if you can, would be a big item to take care of.
Beyond training, any other lessons?
Just that you need lots of patience.
Now, a month and a half later, how do you feel the practice has benefited so far from having the EHR?
We don't have to search for charts. Charts are always here, but at times they tend to disappear momentarily, and we can't always lay our hands on them when we need to. That's gone. We don't have that issue anymore. We can track things better, referrals to specialist labs, things like this. And in the future, it's, even that will get smoothed out even more, and we'll be able to keep track of whether they got to the specialist at all or not, which is something was much more difficult to do with the paper system.
And how about meaningful use, real quick?
Meaningful use, our system, the one we chose, is very helpful with that. They have an actual setup within the system where it tracks the items that are required for meaningful use and gives us very quick graphs on who's meeting it, who isn't. It's very simple to use, and it's going to be very helpful in meeting our goals for meaningful use.
Last question. If you could impart just one sort of piece of advice, word of wisdom to other practices who are preparing to go through this process, what would that one thing be?
For me, overall, the biggest thing that you need to be aware of is that things are not going to go smoothly. What you think might work well and go smoothly may do that, may not. Biggest thing would be, when you're going into it, have a lot of patience, be aware that it is a process and there's lots of ups and downs, and just take everything with a load of patience.
So to you, sort of having that philosophy of being patient is more important, you think, to you than something specific like know who to call, go to your vendor for this, go to your regional extension center for that. I mean, those sort of specifics you think are sort of overshadowed by just the need to be, patient as a general rule?
To me, yes. I mean, we all know that we need to keep track of who to call for what, and to know, who that is for which problem you're having. But to me, just realizing that those things are going to happen, you're going to need to call them, and that you just need to have a lot of patience to get through all of this, and it will work out in the end. It will benefit any practice.